How do organizations start winning more clients?
In today's episode, we break down how companies actually win more clients.
Often the go-to-market or the selling side of things is left by the wayside. And it's really a foundation, right? It's understanding who you want to work with, how to reach those people, and how to have those conversations that get to a closed deal.
Without a system, you end up having almost kids on a soccer field. The ball goes that way, people run in that direction, and it's quite reactive.
This episode breaks down what winning more clients actually looks like from strategy all the way through to execution.
You need to understand who you're selling to, why is it that they care what you're selling, who makes a decision, how to communicate with these people. You could have the best service or product out there, but if they don't know you, you're not going to have any opportunities to sell to someone.
If you want to win more clients in 2026, this is the system most companies are missing. Welcome to the Revenue Leaders Podcast.
Really important topic today. How do organizations start winning more clients?
Yeah, it's the holy grail basically, right?
Yeah.
You go into business or you're in business, you're good at what you do, providing a service or product. And then often the go-to-market or the selling side of things is left by the wayside. And it's really a foundation, right? It's understanding who you want to work with, how to reach those people, and how to have those conversations that get to a closed deal. It really comes down to those three fundamentals, and then everything else is the details around that.
It seems pretty basic, but if we go back a step, like Luigi, what do you think? You know, getting to that point, what do you need to look at beforehand?
Dave articulated it quite well. I mean, we don't even have to do the episode anymore. He kind of wrapped it up. So thanks. Anyone that was watching earlier in the green room, we had a really good plan and Dave kind of fucked it up. But anyway, let's go back a step. I actually want to flip it here, Reegs, and talk when you first entered, obviously sales professional, go-to-market wizard. You entered a business that primarily wasn't a sales-led sort of business. They didn't have a sales-led motion. What was your biggest learning when you first entered that organization when it came to the way in which they went to market?
Well, firstly, I want to put wizard on my LinkedIn title now if I can. Yeah. Look, I think there's a few parts to it, right? Like I think we've discussed before how without a system, like you end up having almost kids on a soccer field. The ball goes that way, people run in that direction. And it's quite reactive.
Yeah.
I think you kind of need to take a step back and actually look at, all right, what problem am I diagnosing? If everyone's going off in their own direction, at their own speed, using different, tactics, you kind of need to go back to those basics and think, well, how can I create a process that's repeatable, that supports my people, that gives them the right information, that also helps deliver to the client, right? Because you're not going to win if you aren't actually providing a solution to your clients.
Okay. So first thing is what you learned from when you first joined, it was they were very reactive. They didn't have a mapped out sales process on how to have first conversation, moving it to a point of preparing for a proposal and then what to do once they've delivered the proposal. Now that you've put that process in place or the business has put that process in place, what's been different from a go-to-market perspective?
That's a really good question. I think that we've seen huge uplift in revenue and client acquisition for starters. And then also the lifetime value of a client has really ramped up as well, which is fantastic. That's what you want.
Yeah.
Outside of that, there's also this mindset and psychology of and confidence with, individuals that aren't necessarily your traditional salespeople that have this, confidence to have deeper and more meaningful conversations with clients. I guess to it as well is that now that there is that, system in place, is that you can actually diagnose additional problems for that continuous uplift as well. Because, every year you want to make sure that your revenue's increasing year on year, but you also want to make sure that you're adjusting to market pressures. You're able to look at from that lead through to qualification, through to proposal, through to close, and be like, treat it like an F1 car. Where else can we kind of fine tune to get the best bang for buck and obviously acquire more clients?
It's really interesting, right? Because obviously we've sat in revenue generating seats for our entire careers. We kind of know what the fundamental process needs to look like in guiding buyers through the journey. But sometimes, and what we see often with organizations is not everybody has that awareness on how to go to market and what steps buyers need to go through to go from a point of conversation to decision. Yeah. So I think if we're looking at this particular episode and we're thinking about how do we, the very simple concept, how to win more clients in 2026 and make it easier for companies to go to market and sell more, how would we break that down? What would be the 3 key tactics organizations need to implement to win more clients? And I'm going to ask you, Dave.
I'm going to bring it back to what I said at the start of the episode is you need to understand who you're selling to. Why is it that they care what you're selling, right? Because it's no point, if we go back to the soccer analogy, if the team is a bunch of beginners, you're not going to go after and play a team they've been playing for 8 years. So you need to understand where you're playing. Then you need to understand how to communicate to them. So make these people who you want to sell to aware.
So just go back, who you're playing. So that is being very clear about
who you're selling
your
to.
Target audience,
your target audience,
ideal customer profile.
Ideal customer profile, the buyer persona, who makes a decision. Because it might be whoever makes the decision in the business that you're selling to might not be the end user of your product or offering. So understanding that sort of buyer committee, buyer cycle. Then how to communicate with these people, because you could have the best service or product out there, but if they don't know you, you're not going to have any opportunities to sell to someone. So how do you get in front of these people? Is it via events? Is it via paid marketing? Is it cold outreach? There's 101 different tactics, and you're going to have to test and try all these different ones to see what resonates best. We had a conversation today where it's an AI legal tech business, and the best way they get customers is sponsoring events.
Yeah, sponsoring.
Really old school way.
Yeah, wow.
Number one way of growth is sponsoring events and being in a booth for them.
Because they know where their audience hangs out, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's it.
Yeah, and keep going. This is good.
And then the third one is in how to have those sales conversations that lead to a closed deal.
Yeah.
Right. So how do you communicate with them? Once you've got them interested and they're in your world, and they might be having a call with one of your team members or with yourself, what is the process there? What does that process look like from first call to closed deal? So you need to understand those 3 stages in order to win more clients.
So let's workshop this, right? So pardon the interruption, I'm Luigi, one of the co-hosts here at Revenue Leaders. You'll notice we don't run sponsors or ads on Revenue Leaders.
This show is free. Our goal is to help you grow revenue and build your sales system that you can rely on. We do have a favour to ask though.
If this episode gives you one clear idea that you can use, do these 2 things. First, share it with one person, a founder, a revenue leader, or a rep who wants to grow their business. Just one. That's how the show grows.
Second, grab free access to our vault over at coachpilot.com/vault. Inside, you'll get the frameworks, templates, and short courses we use with clients to help them scale pipeline and increase win rates.
So the deal is simple. If you get value, share the episode with one person and go to coachpilot.com/vault to get the tools to put this into action. All right, let's get back to it.
Based on what you shared, imagine we've got an imaginary whiteboard in front of us, right? Let's step this out for somebody. So you would first define your ideal customer profile, then define the persona within that, or the personas, because you potentially are selling to multiple people within the organization, then determine where they hang out and what the best channel to engage with them is. And then it would be around what is the right message that would talk to the problem that they're tackling that you can help solve. Following that, build a sales process. And because I think it's for many businesses that don't have this type of playbook in place, they get a bit scared when they think about sales process and they don't want to overcomplicate things. So what sort of advice can we give people to build out a very simple sales process that's easy to execute and not making the simple complex?
Yeah, because I think that one of the biggest concerns that you'd have if I'm a revenue leader or a CEO trying to acquire new clients, it's a big problem. And it actually, just looking at it like that, ends up being quite daunting when you think about it. So how you were saying there about breaking down those steps, yeah, absolutely. Let's make it as simple as possible. If we think about it like a manufacturing line, if you you need to be able to be like, step 1, do this, step 2, do this, step 3, do that. You don't have to, like you said, make it a very complex thing. In fact, there's so many different sales processes out there that you could even, right now just Google or put into an LLM, like give me a 5-step process for this industry that would work, that would give you a bit of inspiration. So just start from somewhere and then implement, but test and refine along the way. So, you don't have to get it perfect straight away. And in fact, no sales process is ever fully perfect, right? So take that pressure off you, start simple and build. That would be my advice. Not try to make things as perfect as possible straight away, because going to your point about, where, like, who are your customers and where do they hang out, is that might shift. Like we've seen that in recent years, huge shifts. So
because I think you can get a little bit overwhelming, right? You think about, well, what's the strategy of attracting? We've got inbound, we've got outbound. People are looking at, I need to bring more opportunities into my funnel, right? They need to bring more conversations. But and this is where I see a lot of businesses struggle, is they've got opportunities coming in, but the way in which they manage those opportunities is where they're starting to lose, right? Not because the company or the prospect doesn't have a need for what they sell. They just don't have a clearly defined roadmap on what the customers need to do to go from that first point of conversation to that, close one.
So then on that point, if I could give one key piece of advice, look at your, top recent wins, top 3 recent wins, and look at what they requested.
Yeah.
Then look at your top 3 losses and look at where they fell down.
Yeah.
Now, celebrate your success, build that into the process, and then look at, if I've lost 3 things, go out and have a chat to those clients. Like, why did we lose? Like, give us some honest feedback.
Yeah.
Most businesses are very happy to help you get better, given, like, it's a level of authenticity. Hey, we didn't get it right with you, but what we would like to do is learn from this.
That feedback.
So then get the learnings from those 3, and then from there you should have a clear indication of what the majority of organizations want and need, and that's 6 conversations.
I love that, and I'd almost bet that 99.9% of people and companies don't do that.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of it. Why didn't we lose? You might get a little bit of a email back saying, we selected a provider because of X, Y, Z. But I think having that one-to-one conversation with someone, if you can get face-to-face, even better, it lowers down barriers and you get so much better sort of intel, more so than when you win.
And so to that point is make it independent too. So let's not make it the SDR that actually ran the deal. Like, make it someone independent and say, like, to give you that comfort and assurance to say, hey, we've got this process in place. We do this to give you the room and safety to be able to talk open and honestly.
Independent win-loss.
At least they feel like, if you lost the deal, it's not like, I have to tell you bad news and I often sugarcoat it. If it's someone else, you can be really open and honest about it.
Correct, yeah. And then that way you can go back in, look at your system, but then also come back to Luigi and be like, bro, you shit.
And, just one thing I do, so you were sort of critical, you're a critical cog in the wheel in building that inbound engine for Grant Thornton. Walk us through what really changed for the organization when you put that operating system in place to manage inbound.
Apart from my ego. Look, like, I think
that's a great example, right? Of no system to having a system, I think, and I'd love, I'm going to cut you off, but I'd love to hear the big takeaway around, speed and response time, because that's one that kills. We know time kills deals.
For sure. Look, I think first of all, to build something like that, and we have well over 100 different products and services, we had to, again, not be perfect. We used our sales methodology, and we used what we, preach, and then we're just like, right, now we're going to practice. And so with that, anything that came in, we triaged. So again, if the first request was an audit, then we built out the audit response and so on and so forth. So we didn't try to make it too big. The second piece to that was response time. So deep research for me, like, general response time for inbound should be 20 minutes to an hour, ideally. Obviously, like, when things come in, like, it can be a bit longer, but the idea is that we answer within the day. And if it's like after 4:30, it's first thing the next morning. Then it's about creating moments and touch points. So our message is, hey, I'm not the professional that you're going to end up speaking to, but my role here is to help support you, understand your needs, and bring the right people into the room at the right time. So we're not just handballing this off, we're carrying it all the way through. And so since implementing, we have, I think it's a 5x now in revenue. At least.
Great.
Yeah.
We're bringing in the system.
But it also, going to a service company, it's a 5x in terms of revenue on first win, not lifetime.
Yeah,
so
so
we've
the
actually,
lifetime
so the
value,
ripple of that is quite significant. And then also you're saving partner time, which then has an additional revenue impact as well.
Because you're pre-qualifying them, right? You're not just sending them all
100%.
through to partners whose time is super valuable.
But it's also the journey. Like, so, you know, and you know that you and I kind of worked on this together, and I know that you've also independently done inbound research for us as well. But like, we did a huge research piece going back to the clients, like listening to them. Our buyer personas like know my industry, know my role, know my business. So we make sure before we get on that call, we understand the buyer persona.
100%.
We understand that industry, and we make sure we always overlay that in the whole sales process. And then also, you know your business. We do research before having that first call, and it's more than that pre-qualification. So it gives them the assurance that it's like, oh, these guys know what they're doing, and I feel heard.
So to summarize, it's really simple. If we were to sort of say how to win more, it's really simple. Know your target, know your audience and the problems you help them solve, and have a clear system to manage inquiries from the point of first conversation to the point of close won or close lost, to make sure that you have a proactive way to go to market versus reactive.